Tell us about your issues, Marcus.
When I was 8, I was riding my
Oh
bike in the
God.
street in front of my house, and I fell over, and I was still just learning to ride a bike with two wheels, and I
God.
tore up my arm and my leg, and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't bring myself to get up, and I just started crying and
That's
crying, and
depressing.
nobody was coming,
This is a
and
sad story.
I was just like, why isn't anybody coming? Where is everybody? And it was just like the world was empty,
Oh,
and
jeez.
that memory really sits. Oh, you meant the comic books?
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm in a bad mood. Why did I have to relive that? Why did you
I
make
don't.
me relive that, Megan?
I don't think I did that. I think it's
So,
just been sitting there, man.
yeah, that was a real thing that happened.
That's depressing.
Yeah, I bled enough that by the time I got inside, I like sat down to get like patched up, and I like passed out and threw up.
Oh my God, Marcus,
My dad
that's
was
kind of
so
scary.
pissed because I threw up on him.
I'm sorry. He shouldn't have been mad. That's kind of a lot.
Yeah. I was fine though. It was good.
Oh my
Um
God. When I was
anyways,
8, a kid dropped a bowling ball on my toe, and I was so angry with her.
I
That's
told
my
you I was
8-year-old
sorry.
story.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the VF Comics and Graphics podcast. I'm Marcus,
Hey, I'm Megan.
and it's just us two today, but today we are going to have another preview-isode. I guess that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I keep going over how I want to pronounce it. Preview-isode, preview-isode,
Preview-isode.
preview-isode.
I
All
honestly
right.
think it's terrible, so it doesn't matter how you pronounce it.
Oh my gosh. That's so
Starting off
mean.
real savage.
You've offered no help, but you're ready with criticism.
I'm sorry.
I wish Tom was here.
Pre-review-isode.
I wish you were Tom.
I'm so sorry. It's just me today, Marcus.
Yeah, unfortunately. Anywho, so we're gonna talk about some of the stuff coming out in April because it is the last week of March 2022.
Ugh, you're right.
No, I can't believe it. Megan, how has your March been to you?
It's been pretty good to me. It's been pretty good. I'm such a winter person, but I'm honestly really ready for spring, so we've had some nice weather, which is exciting. Nothing super interesting going on in my life. Plants are cool. The Razorbacks did some games.
Yeah, the Razor. Oh man, I this is where I'm totally not a sports person. I hear they finally lost last night,
They
but
did.
someone said they were the last SEC team
Oh, really?
to go
I didn't know
out
that.
in something NCAA.
Oh
I
boy.
don't really know
Oof.
what a lot of those
That
things.
was,
Gosh,
yeah, one
every
of those
person who
acronyms.
watches sports is having a heart attack right now.
I'm
Going,
so
I
sorry.
hate you guys.
I don't know much about sports, but I do like watching basketball actually. So I was playing D&D last night, and while we were playing, I had my laptop up watching the game. And they were like, "Why are you
Oh
doing
wow,
this?"
really? I didn't know that was like
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I like Razorback
I always feel
basketball.
left out at work when Jeff and Will talk about sports, and I'm just
I
like,
know. I do too,
God,
because I
I
don't
would,
really know much.
I would love to have input because I like those guys, but
Yeah.
I have nothing to
Oh
offer
my
them.
god. Jeff went up to me. I was like, I mentioned that. I was like, oh, you always just talk about sports. And he said, "Do you want me to talk about your what did he say? He said comics, but he didn't say comics. He said, "Do you want me to talk about your?" Oh God, I can't remember what he said. It was so funny. I'm sorry. This became a really non-interesting story about Jeff.
Yeah, that was not one of your best stories, Meg.
I'm
Because usually
sorry.
you end
It
it
was
with, and
so
that's my
funny in the
story, and
moment.
I'm gonna start rating every time you do that. I'm gonna start rating 1 to 10 all your
Okay,
stories.
how was
That
that?
was a 3 because I've
Three
actually
being
heard you tell worse.
okay. Well, oh God, yeah. You'll have to ask him what he said because it was actually pretty funny and a little
Uh,
offensive,
well, everything
as
Jeff
per
says.
Jeff. Yeah,
For those who aren't sure, we're talking about Jeff is a guy that works with us. His name's Jeff Matika.
he did
You
the
can
music.
find him on Instagram. He did our music, and he's a very talented guy. I know what he spent like 10, 15 years traveling,
I
playing
think it was
backup
10
for Green
years.
Day
Yeah,
and doing stuff like that. Really, really cool guy. He's Instagram official, right?
yeah, verified.
He's Instagram verified.
It's
What a
gross.
jerk.
Yeah, he's
um,
the worst. We love him.
well, my March has been okay up until last night. I was going to be playing some Destiny with Tom and some people, and I went outside with the dogs, and I've been sneezing all week. And I
Oh,
literally had to
gross.
take 2 Benadryl and knock myself out so I wouldn't feel that way
Ugh.
anymore. In fact, I
Ew, I'm
was sneezing
sorry.
before we got on today, and
Damn.
I got some Allegra. Is it Allegra?
I don't know. I don't have
Anyways,
allergies.
there's some allergy medication, and I took it, and so hopefully I can go through this entire episode without sneezing. All right. Now that we
Interesting.
have alienated our entire audience by being completely off topic and talking about people they don't know, let's get
You're
started
welcome.
talking about some of the books coming out in April. And the first one on our list actually today is a book that had already come out, but the hardback version is coming out in April. And Megan, I know you're really excited for it. And it's by Neil Gaiman and Colleen
Yes.
Doran, and it is Chivalry. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yes. Sure. I am so pumped about this. I am a huge Neil Gaiman fan and a huge Arthurian legend fan. And this is just the synopsis is delightful. It's about an older British widow who is shopping at a secondhand shop and she buys, a trinket and it ends up being the Holy Grail. And so this takes her on uh an adventure and a visit from a knight and shenanigans ensue.
Yes, that is how all Arthurian legends begin with these are the shenanigans of King Arthur and his round
Yeah,
table.
it's fine.
Although shenanigans is a good way to describe it.
I'm
Um,
so excited.
yeah, Neil Gaiman always does like really interesting things with mythology. I like anytime someone takes a really weird look at mythology and twists it and sometimes put like a modern lens on it. I
Mhm.
did see this
It's
book,
fun.
the softback, at my shop the other day, and I opened it up and I love the art in it. It honestly feels very much like, how do I put it? The art reminds me of some of the art you would find like in books about Arthurian legend.
Ooh, yay, that makes me
And
so
it's
happy.
and like talking about like holy knights and being good.
But it's
Um,
about this old lady.
it looks really, really cute. So
Mm.
we've got that coming out. And then the next one I'm really, really excited about because I don't know anything about this, but I do have a friend named Jeff. I hope Jeff's listening, who is a big pinball fan. He plays a lot of pinball games, I think, on his Switch and on other systems.
What a weird thing. Like
Yeah.
that's super cool. I just don't know anyone
Yeah,
who's
there are
super into
people that
pinball.
yeah, he seems to be really into it.
Dang,
But
that's
there
cool.
is a nonfiction graphic coming out called Pinball: A Graphic History of the Silver Ball by John Chad. And
Ooh.
I want to read this opening to you because it really grabbed me because it sounded very similar to some of the work and studying I've been doing about the history of comics. So check this out. This is the actual quote from like Goodreads and the Amazon and all that. In 1976, champion player Roger Sharp stepped up to a pinball machine in a Manhattan courtroom. The New York City Council had convened to consider lifting the city's ban on pinball, a game that had been outlawed since 1942 for its supposed connections to gambling and organized crime. Sharp was there to prove that, unlike a slot machine, pinball wasn't a game of chance designed to fleece its players. It was a game of skill that required a measure of patience, coordination, and control. To prove his point, he proclaimed that he would launch his ball into the center lane at the far end of the playfield, much like Babe Ruth famously pointing to the fences. Sharp pulled back the plunger and released, and the fate of this industry and art form, hung in the balance. Thus opens John Chad's comprehensive graphic novel to the history of the captivating, capricious, and at times infuriating game of pinball. So they're going to trace pinball's roots back to King Louis the Fourth. It says through the immigrant experience of the earliest 20th century America, its post-war boom, all the way up to today. So also did I say King Henry? I meant King Louis.
You said King Louis. You did say
I
the
did.
number wrong, but that's fine.
It's the fourth, right?
That says 14.
Nope, that's 14. X means I was just looking at the IV
okay.
and I was deciphering the IV that
you were like, X marks the spot for 4.
So
I can read.
So King Louis the 14th. So like that's really cool. And it's funny how many popular culture things I can think of nowadays were outlawed in like the 40s. It's super weird. For those who love history, this looks like a really, really cool book. The next thing is one thing I'm really excited about. And it's the Gotham Central Omnibus by Ed Brubaker with art lettering from Greg Rucka, Michael Lark, Stefano Guadiano, and Kano. And
Omnibus, aka large book.
Yeah, it's a big one. Omnibuses are usually big old thick boys. And Gotham Central, so when the Gotham television show came out, they kept I felt like they kept referencing Gotham Central, or at least people when talking about it did. And then recently on HBO Max, they were talking about making a very Gotham Central-like take show. But now that show is going to be more about Arkham Asylum, or Arkham State Hospital, excuse me, from the most recent The Batman. And so I'm really disappointed because there were 2 opportunities to take this Gotham Central book and adapt it. And both times they've just completely gone off the edge and not done it. But Gotham Central is about Gotham's finest work around the clock to not only keep the world's most psychotic criminals off the street, but also cleaning up the mess left behind by Batman's one-man war on crime. This Eisner Award-winning series follows the detectives of Gotham City's Special Crimes Unit as they navigate against the city's greatest villains in the shadow of Batman himself. And it's going to collect issues 1 through 40.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, a really, really cool book. It is the... I was really excited about the Batman spinoff we were going to get that sounded similar to this, because focusing on Gotham's special, crimes unit and how they deal about living in a city of vigilantes and how they work as police officers in kind of like a crime noirish book or crime noirish show sounded really great. But since we didn't get that out of Gotham, and now we're not getting it out of the HBO Max show, this is something I think everyone needs to visit. It's really, really cool. And for like the mega nerds, it's my understanding that this is in canon with around the time period it takes place. So there might be some little nods to that.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's really cool. That omnibus is coming out next month. The next thing is The Art of Living by Grant Snider. In The Art of Living, cartoonist Grant Snider, author of The Shape of Ideas and I Will Judge You by Your Bookshelf, has created an all-new collection of 1- and 2-page comics that map his inner thoughts, poetic observations, and frequent failures at living mindfully. With both humor and a touch of reality, The Art of Living centers on mindfulness, but also empathy, relaxation, gratitude, and awareness. And it kind of goes on, but that just sounds like a really good, true to life inspiring book. I know.
Yeah, that's super up my alley.
Yeah, I mean, learning about someone else's struggles with trying to live more mindfully and relax. I'm not a relaxed person. My mind is always trying to go.
What? It's crazy.
How does your mind work?
Hey, if you subscribe to our Patreon, you can find out by getting the extra 15
Oh,
minutes we
yeah.
recorded before this that isn't going to be on the regular episode.
And that's how you can find out how Megan's mind works.
Yeah, me just rambling endlessly for 15 minutes.
So yeah, so that looks really, really cool. And again, sometimes reading about, and whether it be reading or watching a movie and seeing someone struggle with the same things maybe you're struggling with is always a way, to me, it relaxes me. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not as big of a failure or a phony as I think I am.
Yeah.
I am a failure and a phony, but
Oh, stop.
but not as big of
No.
one as I thought I was.
There
And
you go.
hopefully this
That's
book will
fine,
make
I
me feel a
guess.
little bit better.
Progress.
And my next graphic novel coming as another hardcover collection is this Star Wars by Jason Aaron Omnibus. Now, who Jason Aaron is and what this Star Wars collection is doing is it is a collection of the early newest Star Wars series from Marvel. So it's not any of the prequel comic stuff. It is a lot of the newer stuff. It collects issues 1 through 37 of Star Wars, starting in 2015. And then it looks like it also collects the event Vader Down, which was the first crossover event for Marvel's Star Wars universe. So it says Darth Vader's 13 through 15, Star Wars The Screaming Citadel, Star Wars Dr. Aphra, number 7 and 8, and Star Wars Annuals 1 through 3. So it's a huge collection. And you definitely, if you like what you see there, go check out the Darth Vader and Dr. Aphra books. Those two are the highlights of the Marvel Star Wars series. Darth Vader is a sassy bitch. And I'm there for it. And then Dr. Aphra is just one of the best new characters they've created in a long time. You may even see some characters that you saw in the recent Book of Boba Fett show. Did you watch Book of Boba Fett?
No.
That's okay. I think everyone should watch The Mandalorian, but if you miss Book of Boba Fett, you should watch the last few episodes because it ends up becoming. I'm past spoilers. So I think anybody who's obsessed with it has already watched it. Book of Boba Fett ends up being partially about Boba Fett, but it ends up being Mandalorian 2.5.
Oh, that's basically what I've heard.
Yeah. And I personally wasn't a fan of what they did with Boba Fett, but maybe we'll have some mega Star Wars nerds on here to get all their opinions.
Not me.
Yeah. Megan's going to go, oh, that's nice.
That's neat. Pretty cool, Marcus.
Yeah. And then, Megan, this last book is one that you added to the list, and I don't know anything about it. So please tell me about it because
I'm so excited.
Its title is giving me big Arthurian
Yeah.
Gaiman vibes.
Yeah, so it's called Squire. Again, big into Arthurian shit. But this isn't quite that. So this was written by Nadia Shammas, and the art is by Sara Alfageeh. And it is a YA graphic novel. It's about 300 pages long, which is amazing. I love content. I love very large graphic novels. Don't know.
Biggest.
The biggest. And so it's set in an alternate like Middle East North African history. Which is cool. So it's about a 14-year-old girl named Isa who trains to become a knight for a war-torn empire while hiding her true background as a girl from the conquered lands. And so she was born as a second-class citizen and has always dreamt of becoming a knight. And it is the highest military honor in the empire. And so yeah, it's just about her becoming a knight. That's all I really know. It's pretty. It's a lot of words. I like stuff. Squire, good. Knight's cool.
It's giving me some Mulan vibes.
Yeah, I don't know.
A girl
Maybe.
worth fighting for.
I guess so. I think
What
I
do
liked
we
it before you said that, even though Mulan is amazing, so I don't know why I would say that.
Yeah.
Mulan's
remember-
great. This looks great.
I'm
long.
wondering, sometimes when I see something made into a comic or adapted into a comic, they sometimes use like the darker ending of things. Like, Disney has their very happy ending for Mulan, but I think I remember the original text, like, she dies
Oh
or
damn.
something like that. Like
I don't
it's
know.
it reminds me of it's like the Grimm's fairy tale version of a
Oh,
lot of
you're
fairy
right.
tales where it, just it's got sometimes unhappy endings, sometimes just bloody endings. Um Not that I want this 14-year-old to die
Yeah,
or
it's pretty
anything,
young.
but her dreaming of becoming a knight, something that she technically shouldn't be able to do. I hope they explore the ramifications of that better than some uh, things do. YA
I'm
always
excited.
surprises me. Sometimes YA goes for the simplest ending, and then sometimes YA ends with everyone dying.
Dude,
So
like,
it could go
yeah.
either direction.
I feel like that's even more true of YA. I feel like is normally like floating in the middle of that.
Mhm.
Juve shit gets dark as fuck.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Like,
I
I
found several
love it,
thing's
but
where
it
that are in the
is
kids section where
there's
I'm like, whoa.
yeah, a lot of dark shit.
Have you
I
read
was
the
reading it.
Graveyard Book?
No, I want to. I
Oh,
haven't.
I
I
was
need
about to
to.
tell you what happens in it at the first chapter
Oh,
is okay.
I read the first chapter. I've
Oh
read the
yeah,
first few.
that book starts off with someone sneaks into a house and murders a whole
Yeah,
family
NBD.
and like
Yeah.
slowly and then chases a baby like
Yeah.
and that's a juvenile book. Like, oh man, Jack doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, I cry more in Juve books than I do any other. I feel like they're so
I
good.
oh,
Bridge to Terabithia? Fuck. Come on now.
See, I didn't cry in Bridge to Terabithia.
What?
Totally admit,
What's wrong with you?
in my early 20s when I read um, The Hunger Games, I did cry when Rue died.
That's YA.
That 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 messed me up pretty bad.
Interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
read them, so I don't know.
Oh yeah. As usual, way better than the movies.
I'm sure.
In
Yeah, I
fact,
had a
in the
friend who was
movie, I
into
was
them.
just like watching it, and I was like, when Rue gets killed, I was like, I don't give a
Ugh.
shit that Rue's dead. But when
Yeah.
I had read the
You
book,
fucked up.
I read the book before, and I bawled.
Dang.
I read it in a day. I sat on a Saturday, and it was pretty outside, and I read it that day.
Well, anyway, I also real
Anyways,
quick
yeah.
before we move on to Marcus is going to talk about some issues of new series that are coming out.
Let's be specific. I have many issues, but I'm going to talk about book issues.
Marcus is going to talk about his many issues. Comic book issues.
Anyways,
I'm so sorry. We
we
just
can move
lost
on.
everyone who was still
Good
listening.
Lord.
So, quick mention. A while ago, if you were listening, we talked about the Kickstarter for the graphic novel Real Hero Shit by Kendra Wells. Wanted to give y'all a quick update. So their pledge goal was 15,000 and they received over 80,000. So that's amazing. I actually kind of forgot about this. Sorry, Kendra. But I was reading an indie like a magazine about indie books at the library and I was like, yeah, this is stuff that looks cool. And they had Real Hero Shit in there.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my god." So, if you missed your chance to back it, they are selling the hell out of this thing. So, definitely grab a copy. It was like $10 on Amazon, so um
What?
yeah. And it's supposed to be pretty good. So, Real Hero Shit, I don't remember exactly, like I can't tell you the plot, but basically queer D&D. So, if you're into that, me.
I think I remember the
Go check
episode
that
we
out.
did covered it has that in the title, so you should be able to find that
Yeah.
episode easily. Um,
But yeah, Real Hero Shit. Very excited that
real
this did
hero
well.
shit. Real hero shit. Real hero shit.
I'm also very excited to see if our library gets it because I want to see what they catalog it as because they don't catalog anything as like bad words. So I want to see what they catalog it as
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
in the computer. Yeah.
Huh, yeah.
Sorry, we work at a
Maybe we
library.
will if it's selling like this.
Yeah, I
So,
actually found a copy on Prospector and I couldn't get it.
oh, so
They
some places do have it.
yeah.
Well, they're probably still pretty early in the publishing if the
Yes.
Kickstarter was just later last year, so that should be a good
Yeah,
deal.
so yeah, it hasn't been that long. But I just wanted to let y'all know that that is doing well, and if you're still interested, totally can go buy that.
Do it.
Tell us about your
Do
issues,
it.
Marcus.
So when I was 8, I was riding my
Oh
bike in the
god.
street in front of my house, and I fell over, and I was still just learning to ride a bike with 2 wheels, and
Oh
I
god.
tore up my arm and my leg, and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't bring myself to get up, and I just started crying and
That's
crying, and
depressing.
nobody was coming,
This is a
and
sad story.
I was just like, why isn't anybody coming? Where is everybody? And it was just like the world was empty,
Oh
and
jeez.
that memory really sits with. Oh, you meant the comic books?
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm in a bad mood. Why did I have to relive that? Why did you
I
make
don't
me relive that, Megan?
I don't think I did that. I think it's
So
just been sitting there, man.
yeah, that was a real thing that happened.
That's depressing.
Yeah, I bled enough that by the time I got inside, I like sat down to get like patched up, and I like passed out and threw up.
Oh my god, Marcus,
My dad
that's
was
kind of
so
scary.
pissed because I threw up on him.
I'm sorry. He shouldn't have been mad. That's kind of a lot.
Yeah. I was fine though. It was good.
Oh my
Um
god. When I was
anyways,
8, a kid dropped a bowling ball on my toe and I was so angry with her.
I
That's
told
my
you I was
8-year-old
sorry.
story.
Anyways, so for comic book issues, I just saw these are some of the books that I feel like some people are excited about for this month and that I'm really excited about. First, and it's going to be stuff that I think that you should start. So you're not going to hear me talk about the next issue of Superman Son of Kal-El because that even though that series is amazing and you should all be reading it, you're not going to hear me talk about Power Rangers because that series is amazing and you should be reading it, or Mighty Morphing and that series is amazing so you should be reading it. I'm going to talk about maybe some places for any of you to kind of start and pick up. So there's going to be a lot of issue zeros and number ones here. The first is a new Rocketeer comic book. For those of us who remember the Rocketeer, most of us probably just remember that movie where Timothy Dalton plays the bad guy. That is an incredible movie. It's one of the few movies that gives me the same vibes as The Mummy and Indiana Jones, the good ones. And I'll let you all figure out which ones are the good Indiana Jones. But it's got that kind of classic pulp adventure to it. And so we've got a new one called The Rocketeer, The Great Race. So that is something coming out that looks really, really cool. Next up, we have the beginning of a series that our friend Jess Carson is going to be writing one of the issues of. And it is called,
What?
so she's not writing this one. She'll be writing one that comes out, I believe, in June. And it's going to be
Nice.
about, I believe, Barry and Iris's children from the future,
Mm.
but Earth Prime #1 from DC Comics. And it is just an ongoing, it's going to be an ongoing adaptation of the CW superhero universe. And again, Jess, our friend, like I know her. It's like I know them. She is going to be writing an issue of this dealing with Barry and Iris's twin children who have appeared on the show, and it's going to take some of her ideas, but it's going to be so cool to see her do that, and I'm going to get it signed and
Oh, yes, that's so
totally take
special.
advantage of my friendship with
Yeah, I'm sure she
her
appreciates
by
that.
being like, hey
Hey, Jess.
buddy, why don't you sign this, and then later maybe I can sell it for some money and not tell you.
Stop that.
I don't
Don't
think
you
she's
dare.
listening. Jess, if you're listening, that's exactly what I'm gonna do if your name
No,
can
he's
pull in money.
not.
She wouldn't blame me. She'd be like, hell yeah, get that money.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Earth Prime starts off if you're a fan of the CW verse. Next up is Justice League number 75. I said this list would be a lot of number ones. Obviously, 75 is not one. In fact, it's really far away from number one, but this is the beginning of the death of the Justice League storyline that DC's been teasing for a while, in which the Justice League is going to die, but one of them is going to make it back to Earth to warn everybody about some big dark thing coming. And they're hoping to evoke Death of Superman sort of vibes in terms of there's not going to be a Justice League book for a while. Like, this is going to be an actual. So, this is kind of the beginning of the end of the ongoing Justice League book. which is a shame because I feel like we just barely started with the newest Justice League team that has a lot of newcomers like Black Adam and Naomi. But so yeah, this is the beginning of the end. So if you're wanting to hop on and see in this upcoming major DC event, Justice League 75 is the one to pick up. Next thing coming out of DC, don't worry, I've got Marvel books on here too. For someone's like, this guy loves DC. Yeah, I do. It's my preferred thing. But if you prefer Marvel, all power to you. But it's my podcast, so I'm going to talk about
power
DC.
to you. You receive all the power.
But we are getting what are called Flashpoint Beyond 0 and number 1. And to explain to you what Flashpoint is, Flashpoint was a 5-issue miniseries event that helped reboot the DC universe in like 2011. And the coolest thing about it was what happened is Barry went back in time and accidentally created an alternate timeline where different things happened to different characters. For instance, the world was at war in modern times, but it was between the Amazons and the Atlanteans. So it was like Wonder Woman versus Aquaman and their respective nations. Because they had an affair and blah, blah, blah. Real messy, dark stuff. Bruce Wayne and Martha Wayne, Bruce Wayne was killed in an alley, and his father was Batman. And I won't tell you what happened to his mother, because on top of the 5-issue miniseries, a lot of characters got little quick 3-issue series that kind of expanded the world, and they were actually all really good. I really enjoyed the heck out of all those. So it looks like we're revisiting this world. And it's going to start off with, I believe, Thomas Wayne, who is the Batman of that timeline, kind of wondering why he even exists. Because this wasn't one of the multiple Earths in the multiverse. This was the main Earth, but the timeline had been altered. So technically it shouldn't exist. But if you were a fan of Flashpoint, I mean, if you weren't, some people aren't a fan of what Flashpoint did after it was over, but I was a huge fan of the event itself. This is going to be something cool to pick up at DC. Next up for Marvel, X-Men is entering its next phase of books now that a bunch of the secrets have been broken wide open on Krakoa, the new mutant nation. So we're going to get the first few issues of a few series for Legion of X, which is an extension starring Nightcrawler. And we're going to get X-Men Red. And X-Men Red is about the mutants who now live on Mars, because mutants have terraformed Mars. And the last one is Knights of X, which kind of reminds me, number 1, and it kind of makes me think of, I loved the Excalibur series in the early X-Men Jonathan Hickman days, so give me more of that. Put it into my veins. And the other thing from Marvel coming out that looks really neat, but it could be real hit or miss, is Spider-Punk number 1. You see, there is a punk version of Spider-Man in the multiverse, and this book is going to be about him. Stop. And a lot of the comments were like, man, this could be really good if they really cover the punk scene well, but also usually mainstream media does a really cringy job with covering punk. So we'll see what happens. I might check it out. I might not. I don't know. One Marvel book that I will be picking up, and it'll be honestly the first ongoing Spider-Man series I've ever picked up, is the new Amazing Spider-Man number 1. And I'm mostly excited about it because it's being written by Zeb Wells, and they're bringing back John Romita Jr. for some of it. But it is just kind of like the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man. So they're starting a new Amazing Spider-Man series. And as usual, there's a lot of drama going on. But Zeb Wells recently, excuse me, was writing Hellions, which is one of the X-Men titles. And the cool thing about Hellions, if you hadn't read it and you need to, was of all the X books, this one focused on Mr. Sinister leading like a team of villains, even or like former villains or not so great people in the new X world where mutants had their own nation. So mutants aren't divided necessarily into good guys and bad guys anymore. But these were all former bad guys, and it was kind of silly and over the top and deranged. And it really expanded on some characters I honestly had never heard of before. And it was a lot of fun to read. So if you were reading Hellions and you like that, I think you should check out the Amazing Spider-Man #1 when it comes out this month. I know he's written other stuff, but I'm going to be real honest with you. I haven't read it. I haven't read his other stuff. So I'm going to give you the recommendation based off what I am. And the final thing I have is Image Comics is releasing Image #1. And what I wrote here actually was Image Comics is kicking ass. They've decided to expand their output with a new short story anthology series. And so this is the first of a collection of different stories that take place in the Image universe, just collected into all of these books. And Jeff Johns and Andrea Moody are doing one of the stories. Brendan Fletcher and Babs Tarr are working on another one. Kyle Higgins and Danielle D. Niculo, I can never say that last name right, I'm so sorry, are also working on it. Scotty Young is doing an upcoming, let's see, a first look at Delkin Shalvey's upcoming Old Dog series and an original ongoing comic strip by Scotty Young. So they're getting a lot of big names. And I know for sure, like Jeff Johns, he's the big wig over at DC. So it's cool that he's writing something over at Image as well. I like it when some of these companies can have their creators go and do stuff at other companies and touch other genres. But yeah, no, so like it just looks really cool. I know to Megan, to let you know what Image comic books I'm into, that Radiant Black series that I've been reading, that's Image. And it looks like, I believe, Kyle Higgins, who wrote that, and he's also who rebooted Power Rangers, is going to have a short story in there.
Well, that actually sounds really cool.
Yeah. And who knows? It could be a great way for anyone to hop into the Image universe without having to figure out which book they want to read from them.
Mm-hmm.
So those are our picks for issues coming out and graphic novels coming out in the month of April. Yay!
Yay! Yeah, we did it. It happened. You listened.
Yep. All right. Goodbye. Sorry.
Congrats. Done. Oh, okay.
Done. No. I will say I've been pretty bad this week. I've been reading just some ongoing stuff, but I haven't read anything new. I did pick up something I'm really excited about that I want to tell you about. I picked up this great hardcover because I've recently gotten into hardcover books. Like I want something on my shelf, and I love the way hardcover feels. It's going to last longer, especially longer than these omnibuses, which I love a good omnibus, but man, I just feel like that's going to fall apart any time.
Yeah.
But I got a hardcover of the first 2 volumes of Southern Bastards. Have you read that?
No, I know what you're talking about, but no.
Southern Bastards is very much it's kind of just like a violent Southern drama. A guy returns, an older guy returns to, the football-centric Southern town he grew up in, and things start going wrong because he starts looking for justice. And it was something where I wasn't usually, when a book includes I'm not against cussing. I cuss like a sailor. But usually when they include it in the title, it feels, I'm worried we're going to get a Mark Miller situation. And what I mean by that is Mark Miller wrote Kick-Ass is one of his. And sometimes I felt like he had some of his characters all felt the same. Every 12-year-old kid had a filthy, disgusting mouth and was a kind of a piece of garbage. And it, unfortunately, those were the books of his that I was exposed to. And sometimes when a cuss word gets included in the title, I feel like we get like a lowest common denominator kind of book. So Southern Bastards, I was like, oh, what's this going to be about? And then I saw football, and we talked about I'm not a sports guy earlier. I couldn't put this book down. It is so incredibly good.
Dang.
If you're looking to pick up volume 1, I highly suggest you find this hardcover and pick up, because it has volume 1 and 2 in it. And I highly suggest you do that. It is so good. So good. Megan, have you been reading anything lately?
I'm trying to think. It's been a while since we talked, so there's definitely some stuff that I've read. I read up to the latest of Cosmo Nights, which started out as a web comic, and it is very fun. They have the first volume in a published collection, and they're currently working on the second one. I cannot remember the name of the author right now, but it's really good. It's super fun. It's super queer, obviously.
Hannah Templar?
Yes, very talented. It's a fun one, so definitely recommend that. And all of it, she has it up on her website for free. So
yeah, I'm looking at
I
it
read
right
most of it
now.
online.
It's so good. She
Yeah,
she
it's
wrote
super
and did
pretty.
the art for it, I guess.
Yes, she's very talented.
Oh my gosh.
So big fan of that. If you haven't heard of it, yeah, really easy to just catch up on everything there is because it's all online.
I cannot wait to read this.
It's good.
Oh
it's
my
pretty.
gosh.
Yeah, big fan
this
of
is
her art.
Beautiful. Too bad this
Cosmo
isn't a visual.
Nights.
Too bad podcast isn't a visual medium. Because
I know we kind of fucked ourselves with that one. It's okay.
Yeah. Guys, y'all can go to the Cosmonites website. Just Google search it, and it's cosmonites.space, and it's a beautiful looking book. I cannot believe she's just got this out there for free.
Right, I couldn't believe it. So I first started reading it, like I put a hold at the library on like the physical first volume, and I was just like, and someone was like, hey, it's online, and I was just like, what? And so then I read the whole thing by the time I got that, because it was so good, and I didn't want to stop reading it, and I was sad there wasn't more.
Yeah,
But
book
she
1
has
says
quite
it's
a bit out.
203 pages.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It just, I read it so fast I didn't want to stop reading it.
Oh my gosh.
Different. It's a good one.
Oh wow. Okay,
it's
awesome.
like futuristic.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it up on my screen. I'm gonna look at it after we get off.
Yay! It's so good. It's about like, well, just go read it. I'm not even gonna tell you. Just go.
And the artwork to me reminds me of how I felt about when we had those guys that did Curses on. It reminds me a little bit of Curses, which again, another amazing artist writing team who deserve all the attention in the world.
They are very good.
Jeff Johns doesn't need any more attention. These guys do. I'll always be mad at Jeff Johns because he promoted the Green Lantern movie. Let's just leave it at that.
I don't know who that is, so
Jeff Johns should not have known better. It's his job. I get it. He did a lot of great Green Lantern stories, brought Hal Jordan back. Cool dude, and loved his Green Lantern work. I read it all the way until he was done with the series. But he lied to me about the Green Lantern movie, and I'll always be sour about it, even though he basically, like, he was like a consultant on the Green Lantern movie they did with Ryan Reynolds. I don't know if you have, and I guess you probably missed that movie. And it's because it sucks.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't good.
The only good part of it was Mark Strong as Sinestro. And then Kilowog was played, or at least voiced by Michael Clark Duncan, I think. Am I wrong there?
I don't know.
If not, he should have been. You don't know who you've seen The Green Mile?
Yeah, who is
Michael Clark Duncan? He's the main character.
Plays who? Who does he play?
He's a big black guy.
Oh, I love him. I didn't know his name. Good movie. Good book.
It's been a while since I've seen The Green Mile. I can't remember his name right now. I feel like
that book is so good. I read really depressing shit as a kid.
John Coffey.
And my memory of The Green Mile is going to my stepbrother's baseball like All-Stars tournament in the middle of Arkansas summer and reading The Green Mile and just bawling like under a tent while all these people were just watching a baseball game. Good times. I
That
like to make things
is
awkward for people
that is
around
a
me.
weird way to read The Green Mile, but power to you.
I I didn't want to watch. Baseball's boring as hell. It was
No,
hot.
yeah, baseball is definitely one sport I couldn't get into.
And
If
this
you're
was
into baseball,
before.
power to you,
And
but it
listen, we're
isn't for me.
old, so this was before like I didn't have a phone that did shit. I probably didn't have a phone. So I read a bunch of books.
Girl, that's when my Game Boy Pocket went with me everywhere.
Well, okay, so I did have my Game Boy Advance, but like in the bright sunshine, you can't play that shit. There's no backlight. We're old.
I don't know if any young people are listening to us.
I still resent my stepbrother for being in baseball. I'm so angry. It's so if you're not from Arkansas, it's hot as hell. It's not a fun
Yeah,
time in
weather in
the
Arkansas is
summer.
awful. Like I can't even go outside.
It
Like Ashley's having
sucks.
to take the dogs out
So
this week
humid.
because like I can't go outside without my eyes swelling up.
Oh yeah. Well,
Uh,
yeah. Sorry. I don't have that problem and I am sorry cuz I'm that sucks.
yeah, you're a
Caleb
monster.
does.
But anyways,
Okay, well
so
anyway, sorry.
now
We're
that I've let
rambling.
Megan ramble for too long, um, gosh, Megan. Yeah, so that wow, we talked for a lot longer than I expected
Yeah,
today.
oops.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's your
The
fault.
theme today was knights.
Your theme. Actually, yeah, we talked about
It
several
really
night-based
was.
books.
Like 4.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about
Yay,
that.
themes.
We should talk about a bunch of like night-themed books.
Oh my
Um,
god, can we? That would
that'd be
I almost said
incredible.
that would get me going, and that's not what I meant to say.
Oh
That's
no.
not what I meant at all.
Anyways, I'm going to close it out by promoting our Patreon. Again, please, if you're looking for, if you want more info, if you want input, or if you want to join the book club, you can find us on social media. We do have a book club on our VF Comics and Graphics main site that anyone can join because every month we're reading a new book. This past month, we've been reading Embroideries by
Marjane Satrapi.
Marjane. I always want to say Marjorie, even if
Or
it's in front of
Satrapi.
me. Marjane Satrapi. And it was so good. We're going to talk about it next week. And then we're going to let y'all know what the next book is that Tom picked out. And I'm really excited about it too.
I already forgot what it was, and I almost asked you, but that's
Oh,
not for
I'm
this episode.
They don't need to know right now. They'll never
Gotta
know.
listen again.
So yeah, we will see you guys all again next week. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to us. If you have some books you're excited about in the coming months you want us to talk about on the next Preview-isode, I'm going to call it that, even though Megan is a turd who doesn't like that
It's pretty
name.
bad.
If you have some books coming out that you want us to talk about on the next Preview-isode, let us know on any of our social media on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, which links you can find out in the episode description below. I lost track of the words I was
You're
saying.
doing good with
it was
your
just
words.
going.
You're doing good.
Words.
Proud of you. Good job.
Yeah. So we will see you guys all next week to talk about embroideries.
Goodbye, you lovely folks.
You almost said something nasty, didn't you?
No, you're nasty.